3, 2, 1.
So welcome to the July Basic Sampler for 2024 here at Close to Home in Southington. So what you're going to do is you're going to bring in your completed June basic block beginning at 10 a.m. this Saturday, July 20th until July 31st to receive the July kit free. Just want you to know that the all New England Shop Hop magazines and fabrics are available for pre-order, either online or come on into the store. Also this Saturday, July 20th, we will be having Finish the Bolts. 50% off. The yardage is marked at the ends of the select bolts that we have chosen. So plenty to choose from. So this month we will be working with curves in our basic, nothing to worry about, quite easy. A couple pointers that you might want to think about. Let's look at our tools here on the table. You always want to use best press on your kit before you cut anything. This will help stabilize the shapes a little bit to prevent overstretching and fraying, and just keeps it easy to keep your edges together. So definitely put best press on your kits and use a dry iron to press that with. You can use a 45-degree rotary cutter, but when you're cutting these curves, sometimes even a slightly smaller cutter is helpful. And we do sell the 28 millimeter if you want to try that, but either one will work. This one might be a little bit easier. The tools that we're going to be using is called from Back Porch Design. It's a 4-inch Drunkard's Path template. It has both A and B. Sorry about the lighting. The A is the outside piece, and the B piece is the convex piece that's going to fit right into that. All right, let's take a look at the block now that we know what our rulers are going to be. It's just really one basic ruler. We're going to be making 2 units that have the white with the feathers, and 4 units with the black seed and the feathers, and then of course the 3 square and squares. And I believe we did the center of the May basic block identical to this, so I probably will not be showing you this. Just a quick, reminder how to do it, but I probably won't be sewing those. But we want to get right to the curves and the cutting instructions. So this is a little tricky for the basic. I'm throwing in a lot of 5/8, 3/8, 7/8, not to mention the halves. We really want to concentrate on cutting our strips, our pieces, along the lines of our Creative Grid rulers. Okay, so whatever, I always recommend Creative Grid, but whatever ruler you use, make sure that you can clearly identify the 1/8 markings. So from the feather, the strip of fabric that you've already used your best press on, you want to cut that to 3 5/8, the whole length of the strip. Black seed, 4 1/2. The sable are our square and a square units. We need 3 at 3 3/8. So I cut my strip 3 3/8, and then I subcut it 3 3/8 square. The white is the only kind of the tricky one. The first thing at the end of your fabric is you want to cut a 4 1/2-inch strip. It's kind of length of fabric like these, but it's the whole width of, it's about 7 inches basically. So we want to get a 4 1/2-inch strip off of that first. From the remaining rectangle, what I did is I just folded it in half and cut a 2 7/8, and then I cut 3 2 7/8 squares. You want to make sure that when you get those 6 squares, that you do cut them on the diagonal once. And again, those are for our square and a square units that go around the sable centers right here. Okay. We ready? Let's get going. All right, so quickly, square and a square. We're going to start with our sable. We're going to add our 2 half square triangles to either end. And what that's going to yield is a block that looks like this. I pressed toward the outside, which in this case are my white triangles. I then added my other sides, just lining this up to make it nice and even on either side. Sewed a 1/4 inch seam on both of those. And again, pressed those outward toward the triangles, and you're left with these dog ears, and you can certainly cut those off if you like. You can use your rotary cutter, or you can just snip these off. You should have a nice straight line going across, so it could be, pretty easy just to give that a little snip. All right, you can do that. You don't have to. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. So. All right, so the cutting of the eighths, that's really important to understand where the eighths are on your ruler, on the black marks. I've already edged or trimmed one side of my feather fabric. Now as I look up at my thing, it's 3 5/8. So we want to make sure that we're cutting on the 3 5/8 line. So I'm right-handed, so I'm going to go over 1 inch, 2, 3, and then 5/8. So I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it's literally this one right here. It's between the 1/2 and the 3/4. So I'm just going to follow that mark all the way down my strip and give that a cut. Okay. All right. When we are cutting out our B shapes, I'm just going to leave this together and cut 2 at one time, which is perfectly fine. We're just going to take our B shape and we're going to place it along the bottom of our strip that we just cut. All right, now this is not creative grids, so there's nothing on here that grips. So if I push down, it does tend to slide a little bit. So be very, very careful with this. So I'm just going to hold it with my pinky against the edge, put my fingers on it, and my thumb at the bottom. So I'm supporting it here, across here, and then against the edge. Go ahead, take your rotary cutter, open it up, and I'm kind of on an upward angle with my cutter instead of way down here, and I'm just going to follow that curve nice and slow right around to the top. Okay, and then if you had a rotating mat, it would be really nice, but I don't, so I'm just going to kind of turn this around and reposition it. Okay, now that I have this cut, again, I'm going to put my pinky up against the ruler, my thumb up against the bottom, and really with these fingers hold it straight down so that I can cut this last angle. Okay. So I did yield 2 of the B shapes. All right. The other piece that we're going to do, let me get rid of this, is the A shape. And, oh, I'm sorry. You're just going to, I only cut 2, but you're going to cut 6. And we're going to turn this and we're going to do it again. Hold it, trim it, turn it and trim it, and then another one. Okay, so you should get 6 total B shapes out of your feathers. Okay, the A's. We cut this 4.5. So already on this ruler we have 3 of our 90 degrees for our 4.5 inch unit. The other 90 degree is on this side. So what we're going to do is this is 4.5 in height, this 4.5 in width. So our strips are 4.5. If you want, you can even fold the black seed over. I've already cut these at 4.5. And I can do another one, even the white one as well. I can stack these on. My rotary blade is pretty new. So we're going to take our A shape and we're going to place it up against the edge of our fabric, the bottom edge of my fabric with the bottom edge of the ruler. And we're going to also place the top edge along the top edge of my fabric. Again, because there is no grippy dots or Invisi-Grip or anything under this ruler, I want to make sure that I hold it with my pinky, grab a couple fingers right up on top of the ruler and the one on thumb on the bottom. So now if I'm pushing this way or this way or this way, I have a pretty good hold on the ruler. All right, with that, we're just going to take our rotary cutter, and I went beyond this corner just a little bit. Don't go all the way off, just go a little bit extended on that. All right. Again, for the curve, hold your rotary cutter up nice and tall, put some pressure on the acrylic templates, and go nice and slow, and you should be able to get that curve. Okay. So again, if I had a rotating mat, I could rotate this and do the last side, but I'm just going to spin it and reposition it. Again, pinky, all 3 fingers, and my thumb, and I have a pretty good grip. My fingers are out of the way, and I can go ahead and trim that. All right, so now I have a couple of these, and you're going to just do the same. Again, finding an empty spot on this 4.5 inch strip, pinky, thumb, fingers, trim. We're going to turn it. Again, pinky, fingers, thumb. Really hold on to that template, and this time if you want to go beyond, that's okay. Go nice and slow. Notice how I'm kind of turning my rotary blade as I go around the curve. All right, and there's the rest of them. So you might want to cut a couple of these B shapes and A shapes from some scrap fabric that you've put some best press on, just so that you can practice the curve before you get to the kit. Okay, it'll just help, it'll just help you practice a little bit. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to sew a couple of the curves. I have my 1/4 inch foot on, and I want to make sure that I'm using, I want to make sure that I have the right side of my A piece, because that white is hard to see, and my feather B piece is going to go right in that curve. So we're going to start by just flipping this over and lining up the very top edge of both of these pieces. So I'm going to bring it right out to the curve, right here into that corner. And I'm actually going to start sewing a 1/4 inch, a few stitches in, and then I'm going to hold the B piece and A piece and maneuver a curve as I go. So I'm just going to drop my foot at a 1/4 inch. Let's see if we can get this. And I'm going to go nice and slow. Nobody ever sews curves and just turns their fabric. You actually have to take a few stitches. I needle down, get my fabric back together edge to edge, and take a few more stitches. This is not a race, and it will take a little bit of time, so plan ahead. So my foot is at a 1/4. I'm just going to take a couple stitches and stop. All right. I'm going to lift up this piece with my left hand, and with my right hand, I'm just going to bring these two pieces together. Just so that the edge, I'm able to take a few more stitches along the edge of these fabrics. If I kept going, I would go this way and I would lose both raw edges together. The key is to keep those raw edges together. So I lift this one, I move this one, and as I bring my foot down, they sit right on top of each other. Take a couple more stitches, stop with the needle down, lift up the foot, move your fabric on top of it, and I just kind of hold that top piece in place while I take a few more stitches. And I lift, turn, get those edges together, lower my foot. I'm still at 1/4 inch. It takes a little bit of time, but it works out really, really well. And no pins are really needed. Okay, a few more stitches. Lift up my presser foot, needle down. I'm going to take a couple more stitches. Lift, pivot, foot down, a few more stitches. I'll do it one more time before I get my... All right, so needle down. Now I'm at the end. I only have a little bit left, but this corner right here needs to be on top of this corner, and this straight edge, like we did at the beginning, needs to be even with the bottom of the white fabric right here. So you're like, how is that going to happen? Well, tweezers are very helpful. I'm going to pick up my presser foot, and I'm just going to swing my fabric around using my tweezers. Keep that white piece right where you need it. This one came out a little long. I hold it there. To do it up in the up here, it's easier. Just pinch it and bring it right down. Okay. Lower your foot. And sew off. The end is a little tricky, but you can do it. So then what you're left with is this nice curve that we're going to press and we're going to open just like this and use in our block. I'll do it one more time, a little bit quicker this time. Let's do it one more time. Do it one more time. So here's the side. I'm going to line it up. Needle down. Every time, just lining up those two edges. See how many times? I only take about 5 stitches or so just to get it going around the corner. Okay, I'm at the end. I'm going to take my tweezers and I'm going to pull this corner even with this corner. Helps to have tweezers or a stiletto or something. And sew off. Okay. Once again, this is going to fold. Probably you can press it in this direction. That's what it feels like it wants to do. And this unit is 4.5 inches wide by 4.5, and it's unfinished 4-inch block. So let's go press these, and then we'll go up to our this block again. So you don't want to distort this block. If you start really ironing it, these will stretch and distort. You want to keep it as square as possible, okay? And it all kind of presses to one side. Again, nice and just give it a little bit of a tug. If you're over a little bit, that's fine. Don't worry about it. If you're over a lot or under a lot, then go back and practice on some extra pieces. All right, let's go up to our display up here. So we're going to be making 3 rows of, it's basically a 9 patch. So we're just going to go ahead and put in our pieces where needed, and we're going to sew across. Nothing meets anywhere. The only thing you really have to worry about are trying not to cut your points off on your square and squares, but just make sure when you iron your rows so that you can nest up into the next row. So I think these went out, this one went in, these went out. It doesn't matter. But get your 9 patch together with your curves. This is Elisa's back porch design 4-inch finished drunkard's path. Get that best press, get your tweezers, and watch out for those 1/8 inch markings. If you have any questions, come on in and see us. Thanks for watching.